Kia ora everybody. I started this week by promising you a triptych of 3 really bad things that happened to me last week, and I'm not going to disappoint. That's what I'm here for. So this is about Friday, which was not a fun week, and it got to the point where I just wanted to spend the whole weekend on the couch ignoring people for my own mental health. I ended up playing Spider-Man, the PlayStation 4 game, which is fantastically fun, and you get to beat up so many bad guys. It's very therapeutic in that way, but you don't kill anybody, which is also kind of therapeutic, except for that one time a bad guy got stuck to one of those vans that explode in there when you're supposed to be saving the people inside. I think he died. But it's not normal within that game, and not really the point of what I'm getting to here. Friday was a weird day. It started off by me waking up feeling not so well. I don't know if it was because I haven't eaten enough fibre or if I'd eaten something that I didn't really think the body was going to enjoy so much, or if I just had too much chocolate. But most of the day was spent feeling decidedly under the weather, which is never a good way to start a day anyway. But it's certainly not something I would recommend if you've already had a really bad week. It just kind of feels like everything's piling up and makes things worse, and I don't like that. I don't like that at all, but that's still not the weirdest thing that happened to me on Friday. So as you both know, I have been applying for jobs left, right and centre for the last 110 days or whatever it is that we've been in lockdown now. I have had a lot of rejection emails, like instant, yeah, no, you're not quite right for us. But I got down to the final 2 on 2 jobs over the last week, and I didn't get either of them. Again, taking it up to 10 that I've now been second choice on. Buzz Aldrin does a really good job of making second work for him. For me, I'm not having quite as much success as he does with that kind of thing, and I'm not allowed to punch conspiracy theorists as much as I would really like to sometimes. Now, I get it. I'm not always going to be the right fit for the job, and I am trying so hard to find something that works for me. But at the same time, one of the responses really annoyed me. Well, I say one. It was actually 2 responses from the same company. That's right, I got 2 responses from the same company, 2 people within that company replying back to me. And they were both different responses. If it was the same, it would make total sense to me because it shows that your company's cohesive, you've all made the same choice. Yeah, it makes sense, it matches the feedback. But for this one, I actually got one email from one person in the company saying I was overqualified for the position that they had advertised. And I got another email from someone else in the company saying that they didn't feel I was quite qualified enough for the role. And I'm just sort of sitting there going, well, between the 2 of you, I sound like the perfect candidate. But I was not, because I was either overqualified or underqualified, and they couldn't really make up their mind about it. And to be honest, I don't know if I really want to work for a company where the hiring process is that disjointed that they don't even know who's sending out the rejection emails. So I emailed them both back just saying, thank you very much for the feedback. I'm just curious. This is the feedback I got from this other person. Could you give me some more information? And I only got one response from the higher ranking person within the organization. She put it down to the fact that I didn't do well on the psychological testing that they asked me to do, which was quite interesting because I didn't do any psychological testing because, and I told them this in the interview process, I refuse to do psychological testing online. And that's where the lesson for this week comes from for you guys. You should never do psychological testing for employment online. Let me explain why. So there's a whole bunch of these psychological tests that all kinds of workplaces use to see whether or not you're going to be a fit for within their organisation. These are all based on the Myers-Briggs test, which was first written up in 1944 by a mother and daughter team. They were writers for cookbooks and mystery novels. They were not psychologists whatsoever, and they were pretty much just bored during the war, had nothing better to do, and based their work on the 1921 works of Carl Jung, who grouped people into 8 different sections without any control groups, without any testing. He basically turned around and said, I know people who are like feelers because they feel emotion, so I'm going to put them in this group. There was no scientific method to it whatsoever, and that lack of scientific method got picked up by a couple of hack writers in the 40s, and that's why you now have to do psychological testing for a large number of jobs based on made-up material that has very little to do with real-world experiences. But it gets more complicated than that as well. You see, there's a whole bunch of factors that come into play that can change the outcome of these tests. Whether you've eaten for the day, what sort of mood you're in, if you're feeling okay, what the room temperature is like. All of these little micro factors that will change your personality while you're doing a simple generic test will result in different outcomes every time that you do those tests. It's one of the reasons why it's actually really stupid to do a psychological test without a trained psychologist involved, dealing with you one-on-one, who can read things like your body language, who can understand what the environment is like around you, and who can delve deeper into the responses that you give. And it's one of the reasons why it is the worst tool that recruiters can possibly use, because it lumps people into wrong groups, it marginalizes people without meaning to, and it can give off false readings and false information. It's a really shitty way to tell if somebody is the right person to work for your company. So I refuse to do them outright, and I will tell any recruiter that who asks me to do these tests. And most of them are like, oh, okay, I didn't know that. Which is even worse, because that's their fucking job. I probably shouldn't do a test right now because I'm not in the mood for it. But I hope that you got something decent out of my really shitty week. Even if you had to wait a week to get it, you take nothing else away from the week. Take away the fact those personality tests that you do online for work, they're bullshit, and they're designed really specifically by bullshit artists because they were bored shitless, and you can do better than that, and so can recruiters. Now, until next week, I think next week I might just do like Christmas films or something because it's so much less stress. Until then, I will catch you later. Ka kite anō, enjoy your weekend.